Hey there. Thanks for joining us. Alicia and Michael, Foote Printing here. And Michael, Foote Printing has been around since 1907. That's over 100 years you guys have been in the business, and things in the print world have changed a lot since then. I'm sure you do things completely differently now. Maybe not completely, but very differently from how it was done in 1907. So that's what we're talking about today. We just want to discuss the history of print, and you're going to walk us through some of the changes that have occurred since the beginning.
All right. Well, I mean, printing's been around for a long time, since 5,500 years ago, 3,500 BC with the Sumerian civilization. They were using cylinders to certify documents that were written in clay to make, like their little stamp, kind of how you see in some older movies. And they were using it also for block seals. They were using print for hammered coinage, pottery imprints, and also using some print on cloth. So that's how most of the printing was going before around 200 AD, where then you have in China, they started using a lot of woodblock printing. So that's a form of printing where you're using wooden blocks to make, it's almost like a stamp, basically. Mm-hmm. So they were using stamps like that. Also in China and around the 7th century, they did come up with movable type in metal. The problem is they didn't really think it was that important, and they didn't really go further into that. And it took a while, and it took the Europeans in the 15th century to actually look into that and start that process. And then they were able to mass produce, just different letters in metal, and then the moving around of those metal type were able to then be put into the Gutenberg press, as you've all probably heard of, the first printing press. And using that, they were able to make marks on paper and write, big paragraphs and create the Gutenberg Bible, which is like the first thing that was, mass produced basically. And they were able to do it a lot cheaper and more efficiently. So fun fact, Johannes Gutenberg, who invented that and was basically the godfather of printing, they say, that happened in Mainz, Germany. And me and my brother were actually born in Mainz, Germany. Fun facts, a lot of print history here at Foote, even more so than being open since 1907. But, him and a couple of other guys from different areas in Germany were the ones who really made the printing press that all, metal type printing presses are based off of today. And, most people would call that the greatest invention of, that millennium.
Wow.
So of the second millennium, to be exact. So that's a big deal. That definitely helped push forward a lot of ideas and got a lot of books in a lot of people's hands that wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise. Especially if someone's getting paid a lot of money to sit around and just write the book by hand. So I have a list here of different printing types. So you got woodblock printing, and then you've got in 200 AD, you've got then 1040 movable type, and then the printing press in 1439, 1440. That's the printing press that was using the movable type. That's the Gutenberg press. And then 1796, you've got, lithography, which is it's using treatment on a flat rock so that there's areas where the ink will either grab onto or, repel away from. And then you use that rock basically as a big stamp. So that's lithography. And I'm skipping over some other weird ones that nobody cares about. And then you have in 1875 offset printing. We're still doing offset printing here today. So that's been around for a long time, obviously. In 1875, that's not very much, that's 30 years before we started running stuff here. And I'm sure they were using that process. Mm-hmm. And that's just ink, on a plate that's goes onto a rubber roller that then goes onto a piece of paper. Very standard procedure there. And then we have screen printing in 1911. I'm surprised. I thought that would be around for a lot longer. That's just making a screen and then forcing ink through it, and it can only go through in certain areas to make your image, and then you can put that on paper. That's usually right now used for t-shirt printing. We got inkjet printing in 1950, with it's just using a computer to spray ink onto anything. Then you got dye sublimation, 1957. That's what they used to stain or print onto fabrics. And then finally, I'll skip over laser printing, digital printing, which is using computers to not even use plates, to just put a little bit of powder here and there and bake some printed pieces.
Nice.
That's about it.
All right. Well, thank you for the timeline and the history lesson. Who knew? Are you a history buff? Do you like to get into history?
No, not too much.
Okay.
I did look up a lot of this information for here. I did know a lot of it. I did not know that the Gutenberg press was made in Mainz, where me and my brother were born. Fun fact.
Yeah.
It's in our veins.
I was going to say it was
but
destined.
they can't
Absolutely.
Claim. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for telling us a little bit more today. And as always, if you're watching now and you are wanting to work with Foote Printing for any of your printing needs, make sure you're getting in contact with them. You can visit their website, footeprinting.com, to learn about all of the different services that they offer. And you can also give them a call to ask any questions and set up your next project. So thanks for watching, and thanks, Michael.